Hi, and welcome to the sixth Elicit livestream. I'm Andreas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Elicit. Elicit is an AI research assistant, and as usual, we're researching some topics together that I know nothing about with zero prep and a time limit just to see how far can we get. This is about learning in public, and as usual, hopefully also not too public. Didn't tell anyone about the live stream. Hope I don't have many listeners or viewers today. I will research pregnancy and prenatal vitamins today because I really don't know. Do they work? Do you need them? Are they useful for anything? And I'd really like to find out. I will once again be using a preview version of Elicit. This is so-called notebook version. And if you'd like to use it as well, sign up for Elicit Plus and you will be among the first that get to use it. All right, with that said, I think we can start the timer and get going. All right, let's just start and ask what is the evidence for prenatal vitamins or for, I think that's clear enough. Let's just go and see where we get. And you can see we've automatically gotten a notebook title here. This is new. We didn't have that last time. Okay, let's start by reading the summary. Prenatal vitamin supplementation, vitamin D, improved maternal and infant health outcomes, birth weight. Evidence for other vitamins and minerals is less clear. Folic acid and iodine are more established. All right. So one thing that is already becoming clear here is that it might be useful to split it up by what the different vitamins or supplements are that we want to look into. And let's say, so the big ones are vitamin D, folic acid, iodine, and maybe multivitamins. I think I will actually just start a few of these and then revisit them. What is the evidence for prenatal vitamin D? And then let's see, for prenatal folic acid. And what was the last one? Iodine. Iodine. I think in each of these cases, we'll care most about the strongest studies. So, for example, here's this zero citation study. I'm not sure you want to look into that. Let's say we only care about studies within the last 20 years. And maybe to start, we'll look into reviews and meta-analyses. And we can relax that if it turns out that there aren't really any. And I think I'm going to apply the same filter to the other queries that I started here. So starting at 2004, reviews and meta-analyses. And same for this one. 2004. Reviews and meta-analyses. Okay, let's start by looking at how relevant are these vitamin D. Okay, this one. I think the next step I'm going to do for each of these is throw out any studies that I don't think are relevant. This one seems relevant. Seems relevant. 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 Okay, these actually this seems like a fairly well-studied topic. These all seem pretty relevant. Let's do the same filtering for folic acid and for iodine. Okay, relevant. Yep, these also seem all pretty relevant on first glance. This one, let's look at iodine. So maybe a little bit specific. Severe iodine deficiency. I think, yeah, this is borderline because we care about supplementation in the case where you don't have severe deficiency. I think actually I'm going to throw it out because it's probably too specific for my purposes. All right, great. These seem like fairly good literatures from what I can tell. All right, so now starting with prenatal vitamin D, let's just read this summary. Improve maternal and infant vitamin D concentrations. Okay, I think what I want to try here is I'll select these papers and I'll start a chat step. And I would like to summarize the evidence for prenatal vitamin D in women who are not severely deficient. I'll say based on the papers. Okay, so the first point here is just supplementation can raise the vitamin D levels, even if you're not severely deficient, which makes sense. May have protective effects against low birth weight. Mixed, not robust evidence reducing preeclampsia. Observational data related to ADHD and autism. I am skeptical of most observational data if there are no randomized controlled trials. Other outcomes, limited and inconclusive. Okay, my overall take here is it's not clear how useful it is for cases where you don't have severe deficiency. I think I'll leave it at that for vitamin D for now and move on to the others, just to see if there's maybe a stronger effect, so that we can focus on the ones that seem most promising. So we can just follow the same process for folic acid. And I already looked through the papers. before and made sure they look relatively relevant on first skim. So I'm going to do a chat again, and I'll say, based on the papers, summarize the evidence for prenatal, in this case, folic acid, in women who are not severely deficient. Okay, let's run the chat. Okay, the first one says reduced risk of autism spectrum disorders. And neural tube defects. So I think it might be the case that neural tube defects happen when you're severely deficient in folic acid. Although we could check that. Next, cognitive and behavioral outcomes. Prenatal folic acid, something was associated with improved cognitive function in children. Reduced risk of emotional problems. Potential adverse effects at high doses. There might be an optimal range that maximizes the benefits. Okay, I think there are a few studies that are actually pretty interesting to follow up on, and those are the ones under category 2 here, cognitive and behavioral outcomes specifically. So let's maybe put a pin on those. Actually, probably we have enough time. I think we can look at those now. So specifically, there's the Road study and the Julbeth study. Where are these? Okay, let's see what are the titles of the studies. Not provided. Surprising. Yeah, the issue is we're not linking to the paper, whereas above we did link to the papers. There's a study here. I think let's try. I'm just gonna try and see if I can find the paper directly, and for the future we'll need to improve the linking. Usually Elicit links to the source studies, but here this suggests that either the source studies were not included in the information given to the chat, in which case, or there's an issue with the linking. So let's see if we can find it. If not, we can move on to looking into iodine. But first, let's see. So this was on prenatal on prenatal folic acid, just to see if we can find this one, if it exists. Yeah. All right. I'll put a pin in this. I'll look into this after the live stream and check what's going on here. Now, the final supplement I wanted to look into was prenatal folic acid. And here, again, I had filtered through the papers to make sure they're all relevant. And then I will, as before, start a chat with papers, and I will say, based on the papers provided, summarize the evidence for prenatal iodine supplementation in women who are not severely deficient. Okay, see, in this case, we're linking to the papers and can just click on them to go to the details. Oh, did I mess something up here? So here it says these papers don't directly address iodine, but are focused on folic acid supplementation. So that suggests that there is potentially a mix-up. Similarly, the Roth paper, I think, might have earlier been here. But it's a different paper. Okay, well, let's just, I think the benefits are we can just click on these papers and see what they're about. So this one is on folic acid supplementation, and I selected the paper. So this is the blog paper, and the blog paper, I think, came from here when we asked about what's evidence for prenatal folic acid. Did I select too many papers? I don't think so. Well, just to be sure, let's try this again. So, as usual, I'm using a preview version of Elicit. This is not the version that is live, so anything can happen. The engineers are still working on it behind the scenes. So let's try this again. We select the 8 papers. Oh, maybe that was my issue. Maybe I selected the wrong papers. Because what I do need to select is the papers that are here under prenatal iodine. So let's select those. Add a new step. Chat with papers. Oh, actually, we can look at what the papers are. And here, these are the iodine papers. I can do this and ask, what's the evidence? And we can actually just go back to the previous version and check what were the papers. Oh yeah, folic acid. I must have selected the wrong papers. All right, now we're back to iodine supplementation, and first one is not associated. Okay, this is, I think, a bit too specific. not as relevant to us. The next one, suggestive evidence for improved maternal iodine status. Suggestive evidence. Okay. We can look into what suggestive evidence means, but it does not sound particularly confidence inspiring. And this one is iodized salt and iodine supplements. Okay, various degrees of deficiency. No clear effect for women who are not severely deficient. But there, once again, low quality study design. Let's maybe briefly look into this one, where there is supposed suggestive evidence with child cognitive function. Actually, this is a good example where we can get the PDF. Cognitive function. So this was a meta review. We might want to look into what the underlying study said. Although this one is in children. Let's maybe go back to the abstract. I see. There's a whole review of iodine in human nutrition. Let's see. During pregnancy. So this paper was the Gunnar Stotir paper. I'm gonna find it here and ask some questions about it. This is once again the wrong, almost looked at the wrong papers again. Here's the paper. I will just make a new table that only includes that paper. And I'll add some columns. So because I want to get a few questions answered and look at them in table format. So evidence for iodine supplementation in pregnancy. Okay, I'm just going to start with this one and see what it says. I think the second one, the second point here might indicate that this is most relevant when the mom has reduced thyroid function. And here, actually, we can also just look at the relevant quotes and see if there's anything interesting here. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's something obvious here. All right, let's take a step. Oh, we only have 5 minutes left. Let's go back and review what we did find so far. So we started by asking the general question, what's the evidence for prenatal vitamins? And quickly realized, actually, we should just ask about specific vitamins. This is a bit too general a question. And then we decided to look into vitamin D, into folic acid, and into iodine supplementation. We found some relevant papers for each. The literature seems like relatively strong, at least on first glance. And then for vitamin D, there were no very strong signals, except here there was this result on neurodevelopmental effects based on an observational data, which seemed questionable. So I moved on relatively, and we did find that vitamin D supplementation increases the concentration of vitamin D in children, if I remember correctly. But it's unclear how important that is in cases where the mom is not deficient. So we moved on relatively quickly to folic acid, which seemed more promising. There's still some studies that I'd like to look into later on these effects. Unfortunately, they're not linked here, which makes me question whether they're in fact real or not. I'll need to check that. Actually, we can. Either way, they're at least not the studies that Elicit provided. So that's not as strong an evidence as I'd like to see here. And then finally, we looked into iodine supplementation, and there, I think my guess was with deficiency, it would help against neural tube defects, and then without deficiency, it was not as clear. Oh, actually, let's go back to this one. I was looking at the wrong results for a moment. So here, all right, we found this study which said suggestive evidence for a relationship between improved thyroid function in the mom and during pregnancy and cognitive function in the offspring. And we didn't very quickly find the relevant result when we looked at the paper, but that might also be another thing that could be good to check just in case. So overall, where does that leave me? I think we didn't encounter any obvious negative effects from these things either. I think it's probably reasonable to take them. And especially if you suspect you might be deficient, they seem very reasonable. There's some chance that folic acid could have an effect, depending if we looked into it more, and some chance that prenatal iodine could be helpful if we looked into it more. But we're only have 1 minute left, we're running out of time, so I'll leave it at that for this particular study. And as usual, thanks for watching. If you, thank you, the one viewer. If so, I'll be back most likely next week. If you like this, subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.